and I fell in love, and he changed me forever. And since that time, I haven't worn my Christianity as a badge of honor or used it as a judgment bat to swing, but as a testimony of a changed life and a love for humanity I never knew existed. Second thing to bring to light is this: 43 years of marriage and 27 years of living in Haltom City. I've gone from selling pounds of marijuana to giving out pounds of food. In fact, last year alone, Christian Center Fort Worth, which is actually located in Haltom City, gave out over 400,000 pounds of groceries, bakery goods, fresh produce, and frozen meat. That doesn't include the clothing that we offer, or the 2,000 hot meals that we serve during the holidays, or our kids' cafe that feeds a hot lunch to children during the school summer break. Just so you know, 87% of the kids at our local elementary school by the church is on the free government lunch program. And when school's out, there is no free meal, so we provide that. I'm not bragging at all here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just trying to bring a little perspective to the subject at hand. So to conclude, been loving and serving the folks of Haltom City for 27 years, and hopefully will love and serve this community for many years to come. And for this, I stand guilty as charged. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Zandt. We're certainly appreciative of everything you've done for our community. The next speaker is Mr. Sanderson, speaking on overcharged water bill. I may have not pronounced that name correctly. If I did, and I apologize. Sanders, Mr. Sanders, yes, sir. If you would please just state your name for the record, sir.
I'd like to say good evening to all of you, and my name is Delbert Sanders, and my address is 1400 Carson Street. I use Fort Worth, but you can use Fort Worth or Haltom City. It's right across the street. Well, I came to complain about a large water bill we received. We received a water bill for $448, equals to 58,000 gallons of water. We complained about it. Well, my niece paid the bill because they had planned to cut the water off. The lady that lives in this house the young lady that lives in this house is around 90 years old. She's sick, and she got a nurse that comes here every day and gives her baths and fix her food or whatever. No way she could use that much water, so my niece made an appointment to talk to Rex, the assistant city manager, and he told us he'd send out a crew and check the line to see what had leaks or whatever. And he did. He sent out David and his crew, and they checked the lines, and they found a small drip on my side of the meter, which, well, I guess is about 4 drips, about a drip every 4 or 5 seconds. But it wasn't enough to compensate this water bill. But what I'm trying to say is, because it had a leak, they said wasn't any way they could do anything about the bill, because they did find a leak. The leak they found in no way will amount up to 58,000. It's 58,770 gallons of water. No way. So what I called a couple of radio stations, and I also called I talked to the Utility Commission, and they referred me to Haltom City Council. So that's the best thing for you to do, is come up and talk to y'all. Because the water leak was on my side, I'm trying to pay that $440 water bill out of my little Social Security money, which is not very much. What I would like some help is to see if we can get that bill negotiated, where we have to pay as much. Now, Rex sent out his crew to check the meter and the water lines, and they found a little drip right in front on my side of the water meter. But it wasn't enough to cover that many gallons of water. When I talked to David said, well, the water meter's too low, it needs to put a rising on it. So he put a rising on it, and he said, I'm going to talk to some of my supervisors, and we will see if we can fix it for you. And they did. They were real nice, they're real good guys. They fixed it. Well, we tried to get the water bill negotiated, and of course, what they told us is, well, we repaired that water leak, and if you had to do it yourself, it'd cost you around $500. So I should be satisfied with that. Well, in checking that where the water leak, where it was leaking right in front of the meter. Whoever put that meter in hooked it up with a quick fix connection, which is, I don't know where y'all know what it is, but I got a picture of it. You want to see it on my phone. What you do, you cut your pipe in two and you slip it on there, and you got two nuts tightened up and with rubber washers. Underground, that is no good. But that's the kind of fitting was on that pipe, and that's what was leaking. Whoever put that meter in there evidently sprang a leak, and they fixed it with a quick fix, which wasn't any good anyway. But that leak didn't cause that much water leakage anyway. I got a son-in-law that just retired from the Fort Worth Water Department, Fort Worth. I had him out there checking. We found no leaks in no place. I called a plumber. I just remodeled that house about, last year, and we put new lines that run under the house to the bathroom, the kitchen and all, and I called the plumber that helped me do that. He couldn't find any leaks. So I don't know how their water bill got up to $448 in 1 month. But now we haven't repaired anything, nothing but what David repaired with that drip, and it's all normal right now. So what I would like to, if y'all could, help me in getting this bill negotiated, because I really can't afford to pay for it. I'm trying to pay my niece back. The lady that lives in the house is her mother-in-law. Like I said, she's close to 90. She'll be 90 this year.
Yeah.
And she doesn't shower. And you know, well, the nurse takes care of nursery, but she's not in there running water and all that. What I'm trying to say. Hey, that didn't sound right. That didn't come out right. I didn't mean that. Hey, I didn't mean that, Dennis, about your mom. But that didn't sound right. But anyway, we need somebody to help me with this bill.
Sure.
I'm trying to pay back. My niece paid that bill because it's going to cut the water off. And that lady needs the water. I'm trying to get somebody to help me get that negotiated.
Well, we certainly appreciate you bringing that to the attention of the council. Unfortunately, that's not something we can negotiate with you, but our assistant city manager, Rex Phelps, is here, along with, he may be able to address that, or you can do it here, or you can do it outside of here.
Mayor, whatever the mayor and council wants, we can, we were prepared to answer this complaint. We've met with Mr. Sanders and his family, and we think they're great people, but Sedona can pull things up and show you exactly what's going on here. And so we can do that now, or we can do it at staff report, whatever you want us to do.
You want to do it now? Sure, we might as well do it now since we're already talking about it.
Okay.
She'll tell you how to go along with this.
Okay.
You don't need me to
I want to set up here for you.
Okay.
Just got up here for you,
Okay.
in case they have questions.
Thank you, sir. Do you need a copy, Mark?
Rick's not here. I'll take this.
We understand the council can't get into discussion on it or make comments on it. But staff can answer sometimes.
So I first want to address when the new meter was installed. So the new meter was installed in May of 2018. After the meter was installed, there were no leaks at the property. In fact, there were no leaks at the property all the way up until November the 23rd, and then something happened. So I've given you printouts. The entire report is over 100 pages long, but I've tried to give you the pages that you might want to refer to. But I also have it here on the screen. What you'll see is dates from 11/22, where you see very little water use, as described by Mr. Sanders, of the resident, and zeros. Zeros indicate no leaks whenever that water is reported for the hour. As you can see right here on 11/23, which happens to be the week of Thanksgiving, and the Sanders shared with us that they had quite a family celebration during that time at the residence, something occurred right here. This leak continued from 11/23 until 12/26. Can you click on the next tab for me? And then the next tab over. I'm sorry, back one more. I have it in the correct order. So again, that leak continued. It ranged from anywhere from 100 gallons an hour to 60 gallons per hour. And over time, it started at 100 and kind of went down per hour. But that never ceased from 11/23 to 12/26. Okay, and again, here is the 12/26 date where you see this hourly use continuing to flow all those days. The city got a leak notification on the Fathom side, so Fathom created a work order and they sent the Public Works crew out to find out what was going on. Keep in mind, they did not come meet with us until the 14th of January. So this was all done by Public Works prior to us meeting with the Sanders family. Public Works went to the resident at 7:22 a.m. On 12/26, they notified them that they saw water standing on the side of the home, which was also later noted in an email that you'll see there, and was also brought up to us verbally when we met with them on the 14th. And at 1 p.m. that day, it stopped. Okay, prior to that, or actually post that, you see where that large consumption here stops on this day. The same day, our crew was out there and notified them of a leak. However, there was still a small leak, which equated to less than 1 full gallon an hour. So it's 0.4, 0.5, 0.3, and then, of course, you see normal usage on top of that. If you'll go to the next tab for me. So the family came to visit with us on the 14th. We sent the Public Works crew back out to the residence on the 15th. Sorry. Please. And as you can see, right here in yellow, I've highlighted when we went out and we repaired the drip that he referred to on their side of the meter at the city's expense, which is not something we're responsible for doing. Leaks on the customer side of the meter is a responsibility of the homeowner. However, we fixed the little drip on the 15th, and you can see consumption went completely back to normal after that. So you've seen the pattern. I've showed you there was definitely a leak that occurred at the residence. When we notified them of it, that large consumption per hour stopped. However, they still had the drip he referred to. We went out, we fixed that for them, and it's been back to normal ever since. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Sanders, did you want to add anything?
I don't know, Sonia. She's a little mixed up on Sunday because nobody has reported. Nobody told them it was leaking. Nobody told us that it was leaking there. We never had a leak.
If you would, please, would you come back to the microphone so we can hear you? You're doing fine.
Look, we haven't been a leak there, period. There's been no leaks. I don't know who reported the leak there. Excessive use of water. The place around there is dry as a powder house. No one has been running water around there any place. Now, I don't know where she got her information, but nobody reported a leak. It's nobody leaked around that house. Now, the main reason for that thing to be leaking is whoever put that meter in. You know, they had young guys putting those meters in. They weren't professionals. They weren't professional plumbers putting them meters in. So whatever leak was doing leaking, they sprang it themselves, and it shouldn't have been done like that. It's their fault for their leak. And 58,000 gallons, that's a lot of water. We'd all be floating around there. Now, if they let that water, if they turn the hydrant on, let it run day and night, that house has a 250 gallon septic tanks. You know, we're not on sewer. We got septic tanks. It would have filled up the septic tank. The lateral lines is like maybe 150 feet, and it's only about, 18, 19 inches on the ground, and it's been water fluid everywhere. But it wasn't. There wasn't any leak, and nobody's fixed the leak. Only leak has been fixed is what David fixed when he came out there. And I just hope that he fixed it different from where it was hooked up in the first place. Now, my niece, Brenda, she signed the paper. I don't know what it got up there. She can tell you a little bit more too about this.
Sure, we have just a 3-minute limit. We've actually gone over that, but that's fine.
Okay.
Regarding this issue, unfortunately, we can't negotiate anything to do with that. You'd have to speak with either Sedona or Rex regarding that.
Well,
I mean, this is just for the citizens to come and provide information. That's all that it is. We as a body can't respond.
okay, so I'm stuck with the bill. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you need to take that up with Rex or Sedona.
Well, I already talked to Rex and Sedona both. And
Well, Mr. Sanders, the issue is it's not on the agenda, and because it's not on the agenda, we cannot discuss your situation.
Okay.
Because it's not, that doesn't mean that we can't speak to Sedona and Rex
okay,
after the council meeting.
okay,
Okay, it's just the Open Meetings Act.
okay. All right,
There's a
I
law that says that anytime that we have things that the council discusses, we have to post 72 hours before.
Okay.
So at 5 o'clock on Friday, that's when we are able to post it and discuss it.
Okay.
But since this is a visitors forum, it's something that we cannot
Yeah, I understand.
talk to.
I understand.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
But we appreciate you coming up with the information. Right, Miss Wise, you want to speak regarding speeding, correct?
Yes.
Okay, again, it's 3 minutes. If you would just please state your name for the record.
Too.
Okay.
Good evening, council, mayor. We reported this several times to the police department, to Fort Worth Police Department, to our NPO, and we are in sort of like a quirky situation because we are serviced by Haltom City and Fort Worth when it comes to the streets, Elliott, Rita, and Carson. We live on the east side of Carson Street, so that's Fort Worth. We pay Fort Worth property tax. You provide the water and trash pickup. On the west side of Carson, Haltom City. Well, from Speed Tech down to Elliott Rita Road, Carson to Elliott Rita Road, it becomes a speedway at 3:30, and that's coming from Republic to wherever they're going back home. And when they get off on Friday afternoons, Speed Tech Saturday, it's a raceway. Last Friday afternoon, well, it was Friday night, my brother came home from driver's ed. He's a driver's ed teacher. There were groups of kids, or people, I'll just say people, I don't know what age they were. But they were on both sides of Carson, across from Late Model Auto and another, I'll call them salvage place, auto parts place. But they were on both sides of the streets. Had the cars ready, revving, ready to go. Up and down the street they went. If you report it, and we stopped calling the police department when there's speeding going on because it's not a crime to them to come out and stop that. Nobody's killing anybody, but somebody's going to get hurt. Either they're going to run into my yard, my mother-in-law's yard, Delbert Sanders' yard, kids sometimes are out there. Sunday, quite a few kids. But on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's a raceway. Friday night, Friday evening, it's a raceway. Saturday, it's a raceway. If you ever want to make money writing tickets, Carson Street is the place. Okay? And that's all I have to say about that. We still don't have cooperation from any of you, Fort Worth or Haltom City, with writing tickets or stop the speeding. Maybe 10 years ago, Fort Worth came out and sat in our driveway. Little cop on a motorcycle. But they saw him, so of course they slowed down. But it is a problem. And I do have one other issue that has to do with the roads. Elliott Reader Road. Again, Elliott Reader on one side is Fort Worth, the other side is Haltom City. It is horrible. And when you were working on the bridge, replacing the bridge at Carson, we sometimes had to go down Elliott Reader. I have a new car. They have a new car. Quite a few people have new cars, even though we live down on Lower Burville. Tears up your car, tears up your tires, all kinds of potholes. I can't tell where the property line is or the parking ends from the street, from those salvage yards down there. We tried to coexist, especially when they changed management. I know that my time is up. They put up trees and things like that and fences, but still the streets are horrible. They haven't been repaired in the last 5 to 10 years maybe. Horrible. So I hate to send that bill to somebody's public works department.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hey,
Let's-
can I ask a question? Hey, is Elliott Reader's ours?
It's not, it's Cody, it's not.
Okay, so Fort Worth would do the repairs on Elliott Reader. On Carson Street, what do we have? Everything north of Andrews? Anderson? Okay, so you might want to go talk to the Fort Worth Council. Yeah, go on. Sure, why not? I'm gonna run the show.
Except when we go to these places, like their council, they tell us the same thing that you tell us.
No, but okay, as a former police officer, we can only write tickets in our municipality.
I understand, but they're telling us, they've given us the dividing line.
Okay,
West side of the street belongs to Haltom City, and left side is, Fort Worth. The right side is, this is on Elliott Reader, it's Fort Worth. Carson, the right side is Haltom City.
no,
The left side
but
is Fort Worth.
but it begins at a curb line, so it would be
That's fine.
so they would have the whole road.
So Fort Worth has the whole road.
At a certain point, at Anderson North is ours,
So why do your policemen ride up and down those streets?
because they have to go to Elliott Reader, because I used to patrol down there, and
Okay.
so we have a number of wrecking yards on the north side of Elliott Reader, and so we obviously have to go down
Who
Fort
to
Worth Road.
report the crimes to?
If
Fort Worth?
Well, if for the speeding, south of Anderson would be
Okay.
Fort Worth, north of Anderson would be us.
Okay, so it's both of you because they're coming from Speed Tech.
Okay.
Okay,
And so we have our chief of police.
Okay.
He's here.
Okay.
I'll talk to him too.
okay.
But you have to understand now the road
I
maintenance
understand. I got
is
you.
all the curb line, the north side of the curb line.
Okay.
North is Haltom. So they have from the south of the north curb line
Haltom or Fort Worth?
all the way down to the creek, or actually,
Fort Worth or Haltom?
it's Fort Worth.
Okay,
And so Fort Worth, you have to talk to Fort Worth to get maintenance on that road,
okay.
on Elliott Reader.
And it's not a county issue, it's a city issue.
That would be a city issue because it's incorporated into Fort Worth. It's incorporated Fort Worth.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Walter, Councilmember Grow. Moving right along, the next speaker, Jason Steele, allegations against the fire department. If you would please, Mr. Steele, come up and just state your name for the record. Welcome, sir.
My name is Jason Steele. I am the president of the Haltom City Firefighters for Responsible Government, Local 3562 Political Action Committee. On February 20th, 2019, our organization was made aware via a Facebook post that Stacy Corbin had called both the city of Watauga and the city of Haltom City, making allegations that members of our fire department were using steroids. Excuse me. On February 25th, 2019, Ms. Corbin addressed this body and made allegations that several Haltom City firefighters were in fact using steroids and turned in documents that she stated backed up this claim. Ms. Corbin claimed that she had obtained this information from a, quote, previous firefighter who sent her a text. Ms. Corbin spoke of calling Watauga's Human Resources Department and asking questions because of this text. She also stated that she spoke with the Haltom City Fire Chief and had decided to, quote, not file a complaint. Ms. Corbin made a big production that if she had wanted to file a complaint, that it would be, quote, null and void because information had gotten out to the fire department. Sorry, I got a little stuff going on here. Ms. Corbin also went on to allege that someone in the city told the fire department about the complaint, and that by doing so, that person would have, in her words, sold any investigation. Because our citizens have the right to know that their firefighters aren't illegally abusing drugs, I come before you tonight to unravel this ridiculous and baseless allegation. Through open records request, we were able to obtain the documents that Ms. Corbin felt gave her enough concern to involve the administrations of 2 cities and the Haltom City Council. For purpose of gaining insight into what damning information caused such allegations, I will now read to you the text that Ms. Corbin believes is substantial enough to warrant her actions. Ms. Corbin: Hi, Joe. Can I ask you a quick question? Do you think steroid use could be causing some of Jason's aggression? Joe Patino: I'll just say this, if the city did a random drug test on the FD for steroids, there would be a lot of guys there in PD looking for jobs. If you look at Jason's size and attitude, you've noticed his aggressive nature, you might be onto something. Stacy Corbin: Def worth looking into. Thumbs up emoji, thank you. I was not at all surprised after receiving the documents that Ms. Corbin had specifically named me regarding steroid use. After learning that I was once again a target of the Fowler faction's latest fool's errand, I immediately set up an appointment to get tested for steroid use on March 4th, 2019. But before I give you the results of that test, I feel it necessary to give you a few facts on anabolic steroids. According to Duke University, anabolic steroids can be detected weeks after their use because of their chemical structure. Anabolic steroids are lipophilic, meaning that they bind with fat cells in the body. Because of this property, anabolic steroids do not remain in the liver long enough to be metabolized readily or in the kidneys to be excreted by the urine. I was made aware of Ms. Corbin's claims, specifically mentioned me on February 25th, 2019, and was tested on March 4th, 2019. This is a period of 7 days. I mention this fact for those who will later claim that I was able to get any steroids I had used out of my system. I was tested on March 4th for 20 different anabolic steroids and all illicit substances. All came back negative. Additionally, on August 1st of last year, I had to get a drug screen for admission into nursing school. It also showed no illicit substances in my system. I will make these tests public once I have redacted all personal identifying information from them. Just to recap, Mrs. Corbin, who has no medical training, decides to render a medical diagnosis of aggression on me, despite the fact that she and I have never, not even once, spoken in face-to-face. Ms. Corbin takes her medical investigation one step further by theorizing that my aggression that she diagnosed over Facebook posts might be due to steroid use. She then confirms her theory by getting information from an ex-firefighter who left 4 or 5 years ago about the state of the affairs of the apartment that he hasn't worked in for years. Using Mr. Patino's cryptic text, which confirms nothing but says that she, quote, might be onto something, Ms. Corbin decides that her only recourse is to call 2 different cities to make allegations of steroid use within our fire department, naming me specifically in her text. On February 28, 2019, a member of our organization confronted Mr. Patino, asking him if he had told Ms. Corbin that the Haltom City firefighters had been using steroids. Mr. Patino's response was no. We had the messages to show this denial of his allegations, and we will make those public very soon also. So once again, Ms. Corbin has come up on the losing end of a false claim. Ms. Corbin can blame Mr. Patino's lies if she pleases, but the fact remains that she is the person who flew off the handle and ran with it. Excuse me. She has embarrassed herself and brought negative attention onto our city with this nonsense. Since fall of 2017, when we as an organization refused to cower down to former Councilman Trey Fowler, his cronies, and his followers, we have been subjected to a constant barrage of slanderous false allegations, threats to our employment, harassment while out in public, threats to deny us our First Amendment rights to free speech by implementation of policy, and threats against our city administrators who have refused the demands to silence us for exposing criminal and unethical behaviors within our city. I have personally been threatened with a fit-for-duty examination by a then-sitting Haltom City Council member, false claims of using racial slurs, threats to deny our fire department funding, and now I have been accused falsely of steroid use by the Fowler faction campaign. We are under constant attack of false allegations and threats for bringing you the truth about what is going on in our city, and our citizens need to wake up and see what is going on.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. With no other speakers' request cards in front of us, we'll move right along to the BISD presentation on property acquisitions for a new elementary school. Welcome, and if you would, please just state your name for the record.
Yes, sir. I'm Katie Bowman with the Birdville Independent School District. Thank you for having us tonight, Mayor, City Council. We're excited tonight to present some information on a project that will hopefully be as near and dear to your heart as it is ours in our 2018 bond program. Let's see, do we have our...
Let's. Who's gonna? We'll get someone here. Give us.
Okay, that's fine. Yes, sir. Oh. Well, during the 2018 bond process, as you know, our voters and your citizens as well approved a partner elementary school on a piece of property that actually sits in Haltom City, but it's right on the border of Haltom and Richland Elementary School. And so in order to have a connection to Haltom City due to the location of the property, we have a plan to do a connection to Haltom City across the large Fossil Creek. I think it's Big Fossil Creek. So I want to show you a little bit about that information tonight. So this map, you can see the blue is the Major Cheney zone for our students, and the yellow is our Richland Elementary. And you can see the little drawing there at the top. This is the school site there, that 16 acres that sits right at Fossil Creek. The school site is here. You can see the pieces there with the apartments, and the school site are Haltom City. We've got Big Fossil Creek, and then Richland Hills is just there on the border of that property. Here's another aerial view. You can see here's the land, the 16 acres where the school site will be. This is the Haltom City side. This is a map that our engineer put together, just showing a little bit about the area. McCullough Street coming this way, and this is kind of the area we were looking to put in a drive and a parking lot for Haltom City parents. So if they didn't want to drive over onto Dreben with their students, they would be able to access the school site. And here's the bridge proposal that we're looking at right now. Just a little bit about the property. This is what our engineers have put together. The properties here at the McCullough Street area are owned by the Economic Development Corporation of Haltom City. And then these pieces of property that are bordering right up against the Fossil Creek, and then where we're hoping to put the bridge, are owned by the city of Haltom City. This is just a diagram similar with that our engineer put together. So here you can see the Haltom City Economic Development land, the Haltom City land, and then this is the layout of the bridge. We actually visited the site a few weeks ago, and it's quite a little trip getting from McCullough Street all the way to the Fossil Creek. And as we were walking, looking for the spot that our engineer had found kind of on the map that was going to be the perfect spot with the elevations, we walked up and there was just a clearing of trees. It was like it was just made for us. So it's a really nice spot that we're seeing there. The bridge will be 500 feet across. It'll span, from each side. I think the elevation on the Haltom City side is a little higher than the opposite side of the creek where the school site will be. It'll be, was it 12 feet wide, Conan? Is that right? 12 feet wide. It will be a pedestrian bridge. We'll have that bridge open after school hours as well, so the Haltom City parents and students can enjoy the playground as we do at all of our other campuses. Just a little closer up a line. Now, we don't have all of this exactly like we're planning, but we're hoping to put in a parking lot. So if there's an event at the school, the parents will have a place on the Haltom City side to park and walk across to the area so they don't have to go across onto the Dreben side. This is just a little simulation of what it might look like. We'll have 2 piers in Fossil Creek. We are working with the Corps of Engineers and FEMA on that proposal. And you can see it's going to be a very large structure going into the creek. And here's another layout that you might want to see. We're going to have a covering on the top so that the children can't climb over. We'll have some type of a mesh or some type of protection so things can't be thrown into the creek. It's going to be just a beautiful structure. So we're here tonight. We've been visiting with your city manager and assistant city manager. Our hope is that we could work on an arrangement between the Birdville ISD and Haltom City to do a land use agreement for the property. We have 2 other land use agreements in place with Haltom City already. One for the soccer field over by Haltom Middle that you guys utilize for your soccer programs. And then we also have another land use agreement we use for Haltom High School for our softball field. So we'd like to, in the same spirit of those agreements, put something together that we can be agreeable to, and we can improve that site, which we believe with the improvements we plan to make will help bring the value of the properties around that site up to any potential developers in the future. And I'll be welcome to take questions.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Are there, Dr. Tong, did you have a question for Ms. Bowman?
Yes,
This
ma'am.
is Visitors and Citizens Forum, but
My question is currently how the student and parent walk to school. Do they have different route to go to school right now, or waiting until you build a bridge before they got the connection from this side to other side?
Well, the campus, the bridge will be built along with the campus, so
Oh, the
we'll have it ready.
Actually, the campus not ready yet, right?
Right, the campus won't open until the fall of
Okay, I
21.
got
That's
you.
a good question. And we're hoping the bridge will be actually finished earlier than that. Our goal is to have it ready in the next year and a half, where the campus will open in the fall of 21.
Thank you, ma'am. That's my question. I thought the school already opened, but
No, sir, no, sir.
Councilmember Watkins?
Turn yourself on. How about that one?
Let's try that, yeah.
That worked better? This is not a question I was going to brag on you like I started the other night. Jason's got a big old voice, can't hear him. Got people with little bitty voices, can't hear them. Other night, you gave the first presentation that I've heard every word of in 5 years, and you did it again tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Maybe you ought to be talking for some of these other people.
Well, I'm very loud. My family encourages me to cut it down just a little bit, but thank you.
Are there any other questions from the council for Ms. Bowman? Seeing none, excellent presentation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
The next item on the agenda is the Haltom City 2020 census. Our Mayor Pro Tem, Dr. Trong, will you introduce the speaker?
thank you, Mayor, Council, and staff. I'm honored to introduce you one gentleman and 2 ladies. First one is Mr. Fan Min, and second one, Mrs. Jennifer Pop, and the third one, Miss Nancy Borrero. Correct, ma'am? Habla español también. Yeah. And all of them are partnership specialists, and Mr. Min Fan is a long-time comrade with me in Vietnam Air Force. We fight in Vietnam War. And welcome here, Mr. Min. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor, council member, staff. What's an honor and pleasure for us, our team partnership specialist 2020 of the United States of America, to stand in front of the chamber to present this 2020 census. Before we starting it, I would like to profoundly thank you, Dr. Trung, for go off your way to bring our team here tonight. And for don't take too much time, that I would present my colleague, Miss Jennifer Pope, his partnership specialist. Miss Jennifer.
Thank you, everyone, for having us here tonight. I'm going to go through our presentation. And just to let you know, we are partnership specialists in Dallas, but we are part of the Denver region. After the 2010 census ended, they combined some of the cities, and we had they combined Dallas with the Denver region. But I always tell everyone they picked the best state to be part of the Denver region, which is Texas. So why do we do the census? We do the census because it's mandated by the Constitution of the United States. Every 10 years, we actually do have an accurate count. In the last census, another reason, it's part of apportionment. Texas actually gained 4 seats, and New York and Ohio lost 2 seats each in the last census. It is stated that within the 2020 census that Texas will probably gain another 3 or 4 seats, and we would like to have those seats, so we want to have an accurate count. Also, it's very important to realize that dollars come into play with the census as well. For every person that is not counted, George Washington University did a study, and for every person that is not counted, Texas will lose $1,578 per person per year for the next 10 years. With the average household income being about 4 individuals, if a family of 4 is not counted, Texas will lose over $6,000. So that's very important. And some of the top services that's utilized is like Medicaid, Medicare, where they will put health facilities for the elderly. And even for, I tell people I live in Arlington, I just got concrete streets, so infrastructure. So even if someone doesn't really look at like Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, things like that, everybody rides on streets. So we would like to have that money to come to Texas. Some of the key things that have already occurred, we have opened a census office, Regional Census Center in Irving, Texas. That office is at 4500 Fuller Drive. It will oversee all of the census for the entire state of Texas. We opened one early census office. It opened in February in Houston. We're going to open additional area census offices between June, July, and August of this year. One of those offices will be in Arlington, which will probably be the closest one to Haltom City. There will also be an office in Fort Worth, Texas as well, which will be close to Haltom City. What we're here tonight is to actually, we're doing the presentation, but we want to, you guys know how important it is for the census. So one thing that we would like to have the city of Haltom City to do is to actually do a proclamation saying it supports the 2020 census, as well as ask the Haltom City to have a complete count committee. In 2010, you had a complete count committee, and we're asking you to do another complete count committee. It will be made up of volunteers that will help Haltom find out and assist with what the hard to count is in Haltom City. The makeup of that committee would be, your volunteers would come from faith-based, media. Also, you would have people, maybe businesses that would participate, your nonprofits. ISDs would also be beneficial to be on your complete count committee to look at your hard to count. I went out and I did a little research before I came tonight, and I looked at your census tracts to determine what your hard to count might look like. I found one of your census tracts was 28.7%, which means that 28.7% of the individuals that live in that tract are subject not to fill out their census form. That's where your complete count committee comes in, and that's when where your complete count committee will help strategize and say, what can we do to get the people that live in this census tract to fill out their census form? It's about 5,000 people that live in that tract. Their average income, I believe, is about $35,000, and about 56% of the people that live in that tract are actually renters. So you want to look at, okay, what can we do to look at the renter population to get them to fill out their census form? We are going to have a lot of material out there for Haltom City to utilize. You can put it, a lot of cities have already adopted social media. It's the big thing this time. This time they're actually going to have 3 ways that people can do their census form. They will be able to do their census form online, pick up the phone and call, or they'll be able to do paper if they still want to embrace that. They did a test in 2018 and it was overwhelmingly accepted that people went online and did their census form. We're going to have, as I mentioned before, area census offices, as well as we'll have individuals in Haltom City that will need to be hired to go out and enumerate in case someone does not fill out their census form. So with that said, we would just like to have the support of the City Council doing that proclamation, and also forming the complete count committee so that Haltom City will count everyone once only once and in the right place.
It's an honor the United States since 2020 to present the recognition to the city as a part of a proud partner for the city of since 2020, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for having us today. Thank you, sir.
One question. Thank you, Bob. Okay. By the way, what the target people like U.S. citizen, green card, undocumented, and you're talking about everybody, right?
So what we say is now throughout the country that we call citizen and non-citizens. We didn't call are you legal here or not legal here. As long as you're here, sick and have money, where you at, your local address. So we call citizen and non-citizens. That answers your question, sir?
Yeah. Thank you very much for taking your time and we learn a little bit about
Thank you,
this
sir.
and
Thank you for the council.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man.
And thank you, Dr. Trong, for bringing this important endeavor up to this council. With that being said, no other. Do we have time for the monthly financial report, or should we just wait? Jennifer, you're gonna go ahead and do the financial report? We've got about 6 minutes. Okay, at this point, we'll do the monthly financial report for February 2019. Ms. Jennifer Fung.
Mayor and the City Council, it's a pleasure to present to you the monthly financial report. I'm very happy to say that the financial looks pretty good. Okay, at the end of February, all the fund balance are positive, and also we revised the number to be the audited number instead of the estimated fund balance. So at the end of February, we have a total fund balance for the whole city is about $58.4 million. For the month of February, we have about almost $20 million of revenue. And for the year to date, which make up about $44.5 million, which is about 57%. As for expenditure for February, the whole city is we spend about $4 million. And for the year up to February, which is about $28.3 million, which is about 31%. Looking at the largest fund, the general fund, we have revenue about $2.8 million in February, and for the year it's about $16.7 million, which is about 58%. And for expenditure, in February we spent about $2 million in general fund, and for the whole year it's about $13 million, which is about 40%. So now when you look at the general fund at the end of February, we have about $12.6 million. Looking at the property tax, I would say that most of the citizens pay their property tax. So at the end of February, we receive in general fund about $8.8 million property tax, which is about almost 97% of the revenue. We still have 3% to collect. Okay, as for the sales tax, I am very happy to say that the sales tax revenue pretty strong so far. And we received in general fund about $4.5 million, which is about 44%. And when we compare the sales tax with the previous 3 years, you can see that the purple one, which is this year's, so it's pretty strong compared to the previous 2 years. Okay, comparing the sales tax with the other cities, you can see that current year and last year, which is about 6% higher than last year, and you can see that compared to the other cities, you know, Haltom City ranked second in percentage. So are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Fung. Are there any questions for Ms. Fung regarding the monthly financial audit? Audit report. Seeing none. Ms. Fung, it's my understanding you may be leaving us.
Yes, that's correct. This probably will be my last monthly financial statement that I'm presenting, but I will still continue doing the investment.
Well, we appreciate your hard work. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll now adjourn our workshop at 7 o'clock. We'll take about a 10-minute break and come back in at 7:10. 10. Councilmember Bob Watkins, if you would please rise.
Actually, the prayer will be presented here with Rex Phelps.
Yes, sir. Everybody bow their head and pray with me. Lord, first of all, before we ask anything, we want to thank you for all that you are and all that you always will be. We want to thank you for all the provisions and the blessings of living in such a great country. We want to thank you for this community and these citizens, and we want to thank you for the elected officials that are willing to serve. Lord, we just ask that you give them the wisdom to go about making decisions for this community that would be done in a way that would be pleasing to you. And we thank you for your love, your mercy, and your grace. We thank you for forgiving us and loving us even when we don't deserve it. In Lord Jesus' name we pray. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps, for that invocation. Moving right along to the announcements and events, our City Secretary, Art Camacho.
Thank you, Mayor. The announcements for March 25th, 2019. In community projects, we have a deadline to enter the 2019 Images of Haltom City Photo Contest is Monday, April the 8th, and details and registration forms are available on the website. The 10th Annual Haltom City Car Fest will be held on Saturday, April 6th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Haltom High School, and a Jeep class has been added, so be sure to like the Car Fest Facebook page for the most updated information. In the public library, there are teen programs, family movie night, Super Science Saturdays, and adult GED, ESL classes, and other library activities are all listed on the library's website for their dates and times. Some of these programs have changed, so please check the website. And through April 9th, the AARP Tax Aid is going to be held from noon to 3:15. Registration is required, and you can call 817-222-7786. I also have some other information here. Friends Helping Friends, which is a social transportation incorporated, a nonprofit, is to provide seniors within Haltom City transport to the senior center, and they're having their third annual Burgers and Bingo on Saturday, April 27th at 6 o'clock at the senior center, and tickets are $25. Also, the Haltom Senior Center is hosting a baked potato and salad supper on Thursday, April the 11th, starting at 5 o'clock, and it's $6 per person. They'll have a bake sale in addition, also a silent auction. And that's your announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. If you're looking at your agenda, the monthly financial report, that has already been delivered by our financial department head, Ms. Fung. So we're moving right along to our consent agenda, which consists of agenda items number 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if there's no questions regarding the consent agenda, we're ready for a motion on that. Again, this is a consent agenda consisting of items 2, 3, 4, and 5. Councilmember Grove.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda. Items are regarding the minutes, standards of care, ordinance Oscar-2019-081-11, and ordinance Oscar-2019-007-15.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion for approval. And Councilmember Nunn.
Thank you. That's for a second.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a motion for approval in a second. Seeing no lights on for questions or comments, if you would please register your votes. Is it? Okay. Motion passes unanimous with Councilmember Brown, Ricky Brown, being absent this evening. Moving right along to the regular agenda, agenda item number 6, which is ordinance number O-2019-010-15. Ms. Batchelor, welcome.
Evening, Mayor and Council. This is to conduct a public hearing and consider action on the application of Andy Hickson for approval of a conditional use permit for automobile and light truck repair shop in the M1 Industrial District, locally known as 6423, 6427, and 6431 Midway. This business is currently operating with the requested uses. The certificate of occupancy from 2014 was originally issued for truck service center use at 6427 and 6423 Midway to Truck Techs. The property next door at 6431 Midway is going to become vacant later this year, and Truck Techs has expressed interest in expanding to this property. The conditional use permit would bring 6427 and 6423 into compliance through the conditional use permit process, and with approval, 6431 Midway would be allowed for this type of use as well. Hours of operation are Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. In 2014, the Zoning Board of Adjustment approved 2 cases for the west lot, 6423 Midway. ZBA 00114 to allow for all-weather hard surface less than 3 inches for outside truck storage, existing road base and gravel, and ZBA 00214 to allow for security enclosure within front yard setback, existing chain link fence. Site plan specifies landscape and grass from property line to existing chain link fence on a 7.5-foot utility easement. On March 12, 2019, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended unanimous approval with the condition of all ZBA comments from previous case are addressed. I'm going to fast forward through the consent items and I think Greg's stuff on here, yeah. Okay, so this is at the corner of Midway and Weaver, 6423, 6427, and 6431. This is the site plan submitted by Mr. Hickson. We actually incorporated the one from the ZBA meeting because it actually is more of a true depiction of what's there. This is the storage lot. This is the middle building that Truck Tech is currently operating in. And this is where Plaster Pro is. It's moving to Richland Hills, so they're wanting to take in this 6431. These are pictures of the exterior from 14 whenever they first took that property. They had black mesh fence screening on the fence, which ZBA did not deem that to be approved screening material, and it's in your packet. This is recent pictures within the last couple of weeks from the street. These are aerial views from 13 and 14. This was the rescue rooter place that was there, existing screened yard from whenever it was a plumbing company. This is when it was first, the building was constructed, and this is the storage lot in 14. Aerial photos from 15 and 16. 3 different ones from Google Map from 17. And most recently from March and November of 18. These are street views facing north, south, east, and west at Midway and Pecan Court. And if you have any questions, I'm available. The applicant is also here.
Thank you, Ms. Batchelor. Are there any questions from the council for Ms. Batchelor or the applicant? Councilmember Grove.
Ms. Batchelor, that storage lot on to the west of the buildings, that's not a normal surface that we usually allow.
No, sir. They got approval through the ZBA for an all-weather hard surface of existing paving that was there from when it was a plumbing company.
Okay, can we get it to where now it will comply with the paving that we have, the concrete on the other side of those buildings, so everything looks correct?
Right. So this is 31 that has concrete development of a new building. This is 27 that has concrete with the new building. Originally, when this was first developed, it was going to be 3 separate buildings, 3 lots. And when Truck Tech moved in, they needed storage lots, so that's why 5 years ago they went through the process to make that a storage lot with no primary structure on it.
Okay. Well, can we get a primary structure on it?
That would be a question for the property owner.
Okay. Well, is the property owner here?
Mm-hmm.
If you would please just state your name for the record.
Good evening, Council. Andy Hickson.
How you doing, Mr. Hickson?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing great. So can we get a surface on there that's supposed to be there?
So your request is to have that whole lot paved?
Is that, now, Ms. Batchelor, is that the normal standard to have? Because I believe surface parking is what?
The approved surface for development is concrete or asphalt.
Okay.
And they sought relief in 2014 to have the existing paving that was there.
Okay, yeah. So that would be the standard. So that would be a variance off of the standard. So that's what I would like to see there, because that would be the consistent, the way it's supposed to be. I drove by your property today, and those enclosures, that's like my pet peeve now. Mm-hmm. Those closures are still the same way that they were 2 years ago.
On 27 or 31?
Next to your Plastmasters building.
Next to which building?
The where Plastmasters is currently located at.
Plaster Pros.
Plaster Pros. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And so it's still not correct.
Well, we fixed them after the council meeting a couple years ago. On the other one, we fixed them, and they lasted 2 weeks. Trash company took them back off. So Plaster Pros is moving, and that's why this is all happening. So when that happens, we're trying to keep an existing customer in the city. Okay. So when they come over, the trash enclosure that's on 6427, the middle building, will either be enclosed, or they're probably just going to end up using the one on 6431. That one will have doors put back on it. The secondary dumpster that's put on by your trash company will be taken away. Street will be cleaned, swept, everything like that, and it'll all be back in.
Okay.
That it is.
And also the fencing is not correct because, as Ms. Matcher said, it didn't comply. It's not compliance with what the ZBA requested, and so it's not right, and it hasn't been right, I guess, since 2014.
The fencing is right. That's what we seek relief for. The fencing is correct. The black fencing we put up until thieves came in, and the black fencing, in an effort to conceal what was back there from the street, just gave the thieves a better chance to be in there. So the morning that the thieves had made the first hit on the lot, which this lot's been hit I think 5 or 6 times, the morning of, all the mechanics, full-time mechanics, were out there pulling that down, and that fence hasn't been up. It was up less than 6 months, I believe. Do you know how long it was up? The property owners are here.
Based on the ZBA minutes from 14, they requested that PVC slats be installed vertically into the chain link fencing. The black fabric screening material was not permitted due to maintenance issues.
Okay, and so
we took that down, and that hasn't been back up, that black mesh. But the fence is correct. That's what we're.
Okay, the chain link.
Yeah.
Okay. But the surface is the issue.
Well, we also sought relief for that at the same time as the chain link fence.
Well, can we get it fixed now that we're looking at it again?
Quite honestly, that wasn't even in the plans, and I don't think financially it's, I mean, at the numbers of a long-term lease, it's not there to have it be that way. I'm stuttering right now because thought hadn't even crossed my mind. I had no thoughts about it. I thought that's what we sought relief for back in.
Yeah, but now we're visiting it again, so now it's another chance to look at it.
Okay.
All right.
We haven't even thought about it. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Breaux. Are there any other questions from the council for either Ms. Batchelor or the applicant? Councilmember Nunn.
Thank you. I was there again today myself, and I know previously there was some landscape requirements, and I didn't really notice much at all. And I see again there's also some landscape for shrubs to go in front of the fence along Midway Road, shrubs, so that it can kind of screen that that property a bit. How do we, once we say, okay, we're going to go with this, what does the city do to go back and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing with any of our people that request these situations?
Well, that's why we have the exhibit attached to the ordinance, so there's our enforcement of the properties for the landscaping, paving, any of a number of things.
But it appears it hasn't been, though. I mean,
Because
so what I'd like to
originally
know,
it
going
was-
forward, that it would be, because that, I mean, it sounds great, the landscape ideas and all, but if you go back and you look at some of these existing buildings that we've asked for that, there's nothing, or it's all weeds, and it's just not appropriate for what we're trying to do to Haltom City, with Haltom City.
Originally on this property, it was through the variance process, so there was nothing written mandated that had to be done to the property other than verbally. With a conditional use permit, you do have something to base it on for enforcement, for code enforcement to be able to handle it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nunn. Are there any other questions or comments from the council for Ms. Batchelor or Mr. Hickson? Seeing none, this is a public. I'll open this now for a public hearing at 7:25 for anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this agenda item. Again, this is agenda item number 7. 6. Like I said, agenda item number 6. Yes, sir, Mr. Hickson.
Thank you. Just one more thing. This is an effort to keep an existing customer here that's been a great business. As you noted in your packet, the write-up that was in there, they are known all over the Metroplex for their diagnosing abilities. As the cost of trucks increase, I've been driving a diesel truck for almost 20 years now, and they've 2.5 times gone up in cost. And so as that cost goes up, more and more people are deciding to keep their old trucks and to do repairs to them instead of go turn them in and get nothing for them and go fork out 75 grand for a comparable mid-duty truck. A mid-duty truck is what we would all be driving tonight. Like I have my F-250 parked out in the parking lot. That's their specialty. Their specialty, attention to detail diagnostics, is what has people coming here from all over the Metroplex. And so we're trying to just keep them here and allow them to be conforming in their zoning and then also expand. The expansions that will go on in the neighboring building, 6431, will be more of a full service approach to the existing customers that they have. Not so much something that you're going to drop off for a couple day or a longer repair, but some more of the quicker, like wiper adjustments, alignments, oil changes, stuff like that. And all of those repairs are more labor and are more parts and less labor, which is more tax revenue. So as they are planning to double their business, the tax implications would more than double as they're allowed to offer these type of services that would be more full service. Not only would it offer that as more of a full service to their existing customers, it would broaden the horizons to get more people there into the city. Quite honestly, being a landowner, I would rent 100 buildings to these tenants. They are the dream tenants that anybody could have. The landscaping, Miss Nunn, is something that has been a bit of a sore subject. If you look at the area views over year, we've had a hard time with irrigation up there. All of the AC places that are just to the south, they make themselves completely at liberty, which I don't mind them using our driveways, but when they swing wide and rip out all of the water meters on both corners, it's very hard to keep irrigation going there. You'll notice over on our side we've put in massive several 100-pound boulders, and that's kept our irrigation up and running last year, and so we were able to maintain the green approach. You'll also notice we've added some shrubs up along the buildings over there a little bit closer. We've had a very hard time on this west lot, the one that you were referencing with those trees. Right over there is the water meter and the main. In fact, as of 2 weeks ago, it was recently broke again. So if you were driving by about 2 weeks ago, you'd have seen a big, huge hole and some cones out front. Well, we're continuing to repair. So part of the process would be to plant some new shrubs up in the front there, add some landscape stones along the corners, and keep those trucks from tearing up. All of our water meters are right there, and it's super inconvenient to try to keep up. And so when the water meter's right there, consequently the sprinkler main runs right there, and that's what's been going down. So this effort in this case to try to ratify this zoning here and make this work is to keep a tax-paying customer here. A little over $500,000 last year in tax revenues. If that more than doubles, consequently more than double for us here in the city. So that's all that we're looking for here. So appreciate your time.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Hickson. Is there anyone else on the audience wishing to speak regarding this agenda item? Again, this is agenda item number 6. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing at 7:30. And are there any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, we're now in line for a motion. Councilmember Weist.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 02019-01515 along with CU 002-19 on the first reading.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion for approval on the first reading. Dr. Trong.
Second, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion for approval and a second. Again, this is on, on first reading. Seeing no other questions or comments, if you would please signify your votes. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you, council, and thank you, Mr. Hickson.
Thank you.
Moving right along to agenda item number 7, which is ordinance number O-2019-011-15. Again, Ms. Batchelor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is to conduct a public hearing and consider action on the application of David Sellers for a zoning change request from C2, C3 Commercial District to PD Haltom City Business Park, consisting of 6 sub-districts being located at 4100 Northeast Loop 820, 5000 Anderson Boulevard, 4300 Northeast Loop 820, 5001 Anderson Boulevard, 4901 Anderson Boulevard, and 4250 Northern Cross Boulevard. The project will be a combination of commercial, industrial, retail, and office buildings. The individual district details and site plans are included in your packet. There were, on the mailouts, none in favor, none opposed, 2 returned to sender. On March 12, 2019, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with recommendations by P&Z by a vote of 5-0-1 with Steve Chapman abstaining. Okay, so this is a property, again, bound by Northeast Loop 820 Frontage Road, Anderson, Northern Cross, and Glenview Drive. Currently, these are C2, with this corner being C3. This is their proposed 6 sub-districts with a hotel up here, some restaurant pad sites, light industrial building here, light industrial here, office on the corner of Anderson and Northern Cross, light industrial here on this corner, office abutting the commercial residential on Colonial Park. These are some artist renderings of the elevations that would be for the buildings. This is the original proposed matrix of uses, and based on the Planning and Zoning Commission, it was in your, I believe, subsequently sent to you. We did revise that to include removing all automotive uses, allowed uses, and some other ones that they didn't deem necessary or appropriate for the development. These are your views from Google Map. And with that, the applicant, David Sellers, is here if you have any questions of me or the applicant at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Batchelor. Are there any questions from the council for Ms. Batchelor or the applicant, Mr. Sellers? Councilmember Grove.
I think this is going to be more for the applicant. Once somebody, yeah, come on up.
And if you would please, sir, just state your name for the record.
Clay Christie, Claymore Engineering, 1903 Central Drive, Bedford, Texas.
David Sellers, LGE Design Build, 6440 East Sierra Vista, Paradise Valley, Arizona.
Okay. When do you think you'll start throwing dirt if we get through all the zoning changes?
So we've gone as far as we can right now without zoning. Once we have zoning, we start all the engineer drawings, kick off all the consultants. So structural, mechanical, plumbing, electrical. It's going to take us approximately 4 months to complete the plans.
Okay.
Then we're going to go through the city review. So as quickly as we could go through the city review, I'm hoping that we're under construction by November, December.
Okay, excellent. Ms. Batchelor, I did have a question for you. I probably missed it, but were residents notified with a 200?
Yes, 200-foot notice, and
how many
we
was
received a lot of phone calls, but nobody mailed their notification as being opposed to the development.
Okay, we'll see if anybody when the public hearing opens. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sirs.
Thank you, Mr. Grove. Are there any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, this is posted as a public hearing. I'll now open the public hearing at 7:35 for anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this agenda item. We do have one person, Joe Garrett, regarding this. Welcome, and again, if you would just state your name for the record, please.
Joe Garrett, and do you need the address?
No, that's fine.
Okay. I'm a property owner that's immediately adjacent to the proposed development and what they want to say is Subdistrict 5. And as a property owner, our concerns are privacy and drainage, pretty much. And we heard at the Planning and Zoning, all the concerns was how this would look to people driving by on 820, how it would look to other commercial or industrial property owners adjacent to them. And, oh, let's put extra berms so they won't see this or that or the other. And we're like, well, we're the ones living next to it. And so of all the things that have been proposed over the years for that property, I think this would make the best neighbors for us. The proposal to make it an office area directly behind us and stuff, there could be a lot of other things back there with the current zoning. So I'm in support of it. But as I told the developers at the meeting at Planning and Zoning, we would really appreciate it if they would take into consideration keeping the building directly next to us, single story or with the windows elsewhere. And they said that was agreeable, but then when they talked to the committee, they were mainly just talking about making the wall taller and maybe more trees. And so I know that the code allows them to go to 35 feet, I think, in height, but our homes are on really small lots, and the way they're laid out, all our windows are on the back of our homes, and so we'd never be able to open a window again without putting on a show if they do multiple story. But I think otherwise that this is the best plan we've heard over the years for that. It's changed many times. When we bought our property, we were told it was going to be park-like, then we were told it was going to be a park. Then they talked about changing it to residential. You know, we've heard everything over the years, and this is the first thing that really seems to be taking us into consideration, and so I do support it. If development's going to happen, and I would rather have an office back there than a lot of other things. But I do hope that they will consider, it's no favor to their tenants either to have views looking down in all of our yards watching us or in our windows. So I wanted them to take that into consideration. But otherwise, I support it fully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had a question. Are you, ma'am, are you on Colonial Park? Mm-hmm. Okay, I just confirming. Thank you.
Are there anyone else in the is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak regarding this agenda item? And this is agenda item number 7. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing at 7:38. And are there any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, we are on line for a motion. Councilmember Wiest.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 02019-011-15 and Z001-19 on the first reading.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion for approval on first reading. Councilmember Grove.
That's for a second.
Thank you, sir. On first reading, so second on first reading. Seeing no other questions or comments, if you would please signify your votes. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you, council, and thank you, Mr. Sellers. Moving right along to agenda item number 8, which is our staff report. Welcome.
Thank you. And I actually have a report not related to water. So we've not sent out invitations yet, but I wanted to make sure I give you this information so you can get it on your calendar. We're planning a retirement celebration for Jennifer Fung's retirement on April the 12th at 2 p.m., and that will be at the Northeast Center. We will be following up with some invitations here real soon, but I just wanted to make sure I let you guys know so you can get that on your calendar. 2 p.m. So April 12th, 2 p.m. It's on a Friday afternoon at the Northeast Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a moment here. Moving right along to future agenda items. I didn't see any, so I guess there is any. Nothing? Okay. So, resignations of board members. Do we have it? Ms. Thompson, you had a resignation, correct?
Yes, sir. Sue Austin is requesting to resign from the Fire Services Board at this time.
Okay. We have a resignation of Sue Austin from the Fire Services Board. If you would please ratify the resignation with your votes. Thank you, council. And what about appointments or reappointments? Dr. Strong?
Since we have one resign from Fire Services Board, and I have one appointment for nominate for the Miss, I hope I pronounce her name correctly, Francesca Stuck, to the Fire Service Board, Mayor and staff. Council.
Okay. So if you would please ratify that appointment. Okay, passes unanimous. And we have one absence. Councilmember Brown is not with us tonight, so we will need a motion regarding that. Councilmember Grove.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we excuse Mr. Brown's absence.
Okay, we have a motion to excuse Mr. Brown's absence. Councilmember Watkins. Okay, motion to excuse Mr. Brown's absence and a second. If you would please register your votes. Okay. Seeing no other business to conclude, we'll now adjourn into executive session pursuant to 551, 071, 072, and 074 of the Texas Government Code at 7:40.